For some reason, this thought kept coming to my mind: you need to go to Japan. Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Marielle and I live in Japan. So I am very happy today. As you can see, we are in a new location that we have never seen before. And it's because I moved. So I'm really happy. I'm in this great Japanese style room and I have the proper lighting and space to film my videos. We're gonna be filming here from now on. Okay, if you have been with me for a while, Pronto is here. Pronto was never gone. Pronto has come from Kyoto to Tokyo. So we have Pronto, we have my pillow that my mom made me. She's gonna be happy that it's in the video. And I have my collection of things, Japan things, and all my Tsum Tsums and David Bowie. The other day I made a poll on my YouTube channel, so thank you to the people who voted on that poll. I recently reached 3,000 subscribers, so I wanted to thank everyone, and I wanted to ask, what do people want to see on this channel? And I gave a few different options. The choice that won by a decent amount was telling stories about Japan. I decided that I want to make a series. I'm just gonna call it Japan Storytime. I thought that the perfect way to start this out would be to tell you the story of how I ended up moving to Japan at age 21. I've actually told this story on a few channels. I've appeared in videos on some food channels, and I know a lot of my subscribers have seen me on there. And I briefly told the story of how I ended up in Japan, and many people in the comments seemed interested about this. So I decided that I should probably tell the story on my own channel. Also, if you periodically see Winnie the Pooh's behind, it is my mug. And if you're wondering what I'm drinking hojicha, which is my favorite tea. So with that, let's begin Japan story time. So there are many stories in the world of how one seemingly small and insignificant choice can impact the lives of many people. And that's kind of the type of story that this is. What story am I about to tell? I'm about to tell the story of why I moved to Japan at age 21. My story begins before I was born. The year was 1994. My parents had recently gotten married and were planning to have a family in the future. It was around this time that my dad was contacted by his friend who was living in Tokyo, Japan. My dad's friend is American and he is fluent in Japanese. My dad's friend in high school studied abroad as an exchange student in Japan. So this was before like smartphones and computers and all these ways that we stay in touch now. So I think that's really, really cool. He became fluent in Japanese. He moved to Tokyo and was working at a company in Tokyo. My parents were in contact with my dad's friend, and my dad's friend said, I'm living in Tokyo. I have this apartment, I'm fluent in Japanese, and if you want to visit Japan, now's a really good time. Something like that is how I picture it. My parents at the time were saving up money to furnish their dining room and were planning to have a child. Do they spend all the money they've been saving for something for their home, to just go to Japan for a couple of weeks on vacation? Or do they stay behind and possibly miss out on a once-in-a-lifetime chance? So my parents, being like the adventurous people that they are, of course, they chose the trip and they spent that money they'd been saving on the plane tickets to Japan because they thought they're never gonna get to visit Japan again. There's never gonna be another reason to visit Japan. It's on the opposite side of the world. Like, what are we gonna be doing in Japan again? We go to Japan once on vacation, that's it. So my parents went to Japan and they had the most incredible experience. They told me when they arrived, they were really worried about being able to find my dad's friend. So they asked him, like, how are we going to find you in the middle of Tokyo Station? It's so big, there's so many people. And my parents told me my dad's friend was just like, guys, like, you're gonna be able to find me. Trust me. Just don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. I got this. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're gonna see me. You're gonna see me. So my parents showed up in Tokyo Station and of course they could see him. My dad's friend was like a super tall white guy. Long story short, they had no trouble finding my dad's friend. Yeah, it was fine. That's how the adventure began. My parents were like the only foreigners there. My mom said that everywhere they went, they saw the same group of German tourists or like the same German family. They just saw multiple times. Like they saw in Tokyo and Kyoto or something because there were just no foreigners. I always say that like I'm kind of getting a taste of what my parents experienced because I'm living here during coronavirus with no tourists, so especially when I was in Kyoto, it felt just like that. Like I was constantly the only one. My mom has beautiful long blonde hair. She was constantly being asked for photos. People thought she was a model or celebrity or something, and a lot of school kids asked for group photos with her. She's very recognizable. Yeah, so they started out in Tokyo, they went to Kyoto and absolutely fell in love with Kyoto. Always said it was one of their favorite places they visited. They went to Nikko, they saw all the famous like sites and got to experience some things that most tourists couldn't because they were with my dad's friend. My parents came back from Japan and the following year they had their first child. My parents found a true sense of admiration, love, respect for Japan, and I learned about Japan through them. And they never lived in Japan. They just went on this short trip to Japan, but from that alone, I was interested. When I was in 3rd grade, we had this thing that we did in my class. My teacher would set up the room like an airplane. We would go to a new country like every month or every 2 months, and we learned about that country. And one of the countries was Japan. My mom heard that we were doing this unit about Japan. She came with her CD of pictures of her trip to Japan, and I just sat there as she was showing it and I thought it was so cool. Like, my mom has gone to Japan, like this is so crazy, this is such a faraway place. My parents were always encouraging me to try new foods. We often went to Japanese restaurants. From a young age, I had declared that my favorite food was sushi. So it would be the first day of school or the first day of summer camp, and we'd be introducing ourselves, and they would say, okay everyone, please tell me your name, your favorite animal, and your favorite food. And little like 7 or 8-year-old Marielle was like,
hi everyone, my name is Marielle. My favorite animal is a dog, and my favorite food is sushi.
My dad was working in New York City, and he would go to like different stores and get Japanese candy. I remember him bringing me like haichu when I was young, and we loved Japanese gummies in my house. Even like there was a restaurant in my town that served like some pretty authentic things, and they had agedashi tofu. People often are surprised when I say agedashi tofu is one of my favorite foods, but it's seriously like I had it from a young age. My family also loved Japanese animated movies and TV shows. When I was 3 years old, I think, my dad went to the Nintendo store in New York City and he got me this Kodak, or Psyduck in English. So I called this Psyduck growing up. He was just Psyduck. I know he's so like dirty and old, but in his eye, yeah, I know. He got my sister a Pikachu, which is also just as dirty. My parents were also very interested in Ghibli, so they took me to see Ghibli movies when they came out. We went to go see Spirited Away and I was terrified. I was so scared of this movie. Then later on, Howl's Moving Castle came out. From the first time I saw it, like it became my favorite movie ever. We were always watching Mononoke Hime, so Princess Mononoke. I remember we would be on car trips and like my parents would just put that movie on and we'd be watching it in the back. I can't even count how many times I watched Princess Mononoke as a child. As you can see, my entire childhood was painted with colors of Japan. I was always interested in Japan because of this. In the summer before my final year of university, I was an apprentice at a Shakespeare company for reasons unknown. Because I loved Shakespeare and I thought like I loved doing theater, I was feeling really, really miserable. I was about to graduate with a bachelor's in theater and I did not feel like I wanted to be an actor anymore at that time. I was very confused. For some reason, this thought kept coming to my mind, you need to go to Japan. I knew for a long time I wanted to be an expat and I wanted to live abroad. I had studied abroad, but I'd studied abroad in English-speaking countries, in Ireland and in England. I felt like there's so much of the world I need to see, and I had heard about opportunities to teach English abroad and how this was a really good chance for people to make money, live comfortably in a country that they otherwise would not get the chance to live in. And I didn't just want to visit Japan. I thought this is like the country I've been interested in from a young age, that I've always been fascinated and curious about. I cannot just go there on vacation like for a few weeks. I need to live in Japan. I was graduating a year early from university, so I was only 20 at the time, and I ended up getting a job and coming to Japan, and here I am. So you know how earlier I said that there are these little choices that seem insignificant but can impact the lives of many? For me, that choice is my parents' decision to go on vacation to Japan. They thought if they didn't go, they would never get the chance again. And then they would end up going to Japan again to visit their daughter. They now have a daughter living really far away from them who they miss very much. So it's kind of ironic that my interest in Japan came from them. Never underestimate the impact of one choice that you make on the lives of people living and unborn. Okay everyone, I'm going to wrap this up now. I hope that you enjoyed this little story about how I ended up in Japan. As I said, I'm going to be making these types of videos a lot more often. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if there are any types of stories you want to hear. I really enjoyed making this video and I hope you enjoyed listening. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. It really helps me grow this channel and I'd like to bring you a lot more content in the future. Also, please check me out on social media. My Instagram is on the world stage. Arigatou gozaimashita. Mata ne!